Okay, I think we made it. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope you all can hear me. Oh, wait, now I think we're live. There we go. Okay, we got it. If you haven't met me, you know I'm not the most tech savvy person, so we are live now. So that's fantastic. So happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2021. Uh, just want to check if you can hear me or everything. Please just make a comment if you can't hear me or if there's anything wrong with the feed. But we did a test run earlier and should be good to go. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and really excited about having a little bit more time today to talk about key culture and to catch you guys up on all of the amazing things we've been doing in 2020 and the exciting plans that we have for 2021. So, first and foremost, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Caitlin Southwick. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder and executive director of Key Culture. I am 30s, Caucasian, dirty blonde or light brown hair, green eyes, and I'm wearing a black shirt and gold earrings. So, you guys know what I look like. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, as I said, key culture and my favorite topic. I can talk about this for hours. I'd like to tell you a little bit about me and about why I started Key Culture and take you along the incredible journey that we've been on over the past, gosh, has it only been 14 months? That's pretty amazing. Feels like it's been a lot longer. You may see at some point in time our mascot. This is Max. Imagine a fox for those of you who can't see him. He is may come join in from time to time, but he will head out every once in a while. So he'll get bored with me in a couple of minutes. So my background is actually in art conservation. I'm a trained stone conservator. I have been doing stone conservation for, gosh, 9 years, I guess I did that. So it seems like a lot shorter time, but I started studying conservation in Italy in 2011, and I have had a phenomenal career. I've been so incredibly lucky to do some of the most exciting conservation projects known to man. I mean, I was part of the first team that ever went to Easter Island to conserve the Moai statues. I've worked at the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. I've worked at the Getty Conservation Center in Los Angeles. My last gig, which may have been my favorite, may be a little biased, but I worked at the Vatican Museums last year. And, you know, I became a conservator because when I was a little girl, I had the opportunity to go to some of the most phenomenal museums in the world and see the artworks front and center. And I remember when I was 9, I walked into the Louvre and we went downstairs. My parents took me downstairs to the art, Greek and Roman statue collection. And I just remember these towering sculptures and, like, you know, this brilliant, sparkling marbles. And I just completely fell in love. And, you know, I wanted to preserve that emotion, that memory, that sort of cathartic feeling that I had so that, you know, in 100 years, some other little girl can go into those museums and have that same experience. I've always been passionate about art. I've always been passionate about history. And I wanted to find a way to preserve that for the future. I'm also a mountain girl. For those of you who don't know, I'm from Colorado in the United States, coming to you live today from Amsterdam. But I am joining to, like, I have always had a passion for the environment. Growing up in the mountains in Colorado, I've always felt very in touch with nature, and I feel really, really lucky to have had that experience. I think that's something that some people may miss today. You know, if you grow up if you're in a city like Amsterdam, it's absolutely stunning, and I love it here. But the closest thing we have to nature is the Vondelpark, which, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but it's just not the same as, 14 or in Colorado. And I remember when I was a little girl, I would look outside. We had this amazing view of the city of Denver. And I looked outside at the city one day, and it was covered with a cloud of black, brown stuff. And I asked my dad what that was. And he said, well, that's pollution. And I was shocked. It was so ugly. And there was so much of it. And it was just sitting on top of the city like a cloud. And I thought, well, that's horrible. Can't we do something about that? Can we suck that up or make it go away? And I asked my dad, what happens to it? And he said, well, eventually the wind blows it away. And I remember the next day I woke up and we'd had a storm and the city was crystal clear and beautiful. And I was so excited. I was like, this is wonderful news. Pollution's gone. Magic. And my dad said, well, no, that's not quite exactly what happens. Now, I'm sure my father's knowledge of climate science was a little bit more advanced than my 9-year-old interpretation of what he said. But what I remember was he said that basically the pollution is blown down to the Arctic, where then it burns a hole in the ozone layer, and as that hole gets bigger, we're all going to die. So I had this kind of sense of pollution is bad from when I was quite young. And once again, I'm sure this is just my memory of this. So I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, and then we'll get back to the point. But I just want to kind of give you guys a background a little bit more about what we're doing and why I did it. So I had this profound effect on me, this natural connection to the environment. And when I was 8 years old, I was actually invited to go to the White House. And while I was there, I met at the time, President Bill Clinton. And my dad had told me before I went to write a letter. And he said, politicians always love to hear what the young people want and what they're interested in. And so I sat down and I was like, well, what do I want to write about? And he said, well, what do you care about? And I said, well, I care about pollution. I want him to stop the pollution. And he said, write that down. So I wrote a letter to President Bill Clinton, and I said, I would like for you to stop the pollution. And I still have the letter. It's here in my house. And I met the president. I shook his hand. I gave him the letter, and he read it right then and there. And he thanked me, and he said, this is a very important issue to Vice President Al Gore and myself. And about a month and a half later, I got a letter back saying, thank you for your message. We're doing all that we can to fight pollution. So, I totally like to take credit for an inconvenient truth. That was absolutely me. I'm obviously just kidding. But I've always been passionate about this. And so, fast forward 20 some odd years, I found myself at Cardiff University after I had studied in Italy for 3 years. And I was a master's student studying conservation. And I was walking by the trash can one day and I looked down and it was just full of disposable nitrile gloves. And I thought, well, that's super wasteful. Can't we do something about that? Can't those be recycled? I've always tried to be and mitigate my environmental impact in my own personal life. And all of a sudden, I was doing something that was clearly not within my own values. And so I asked my teachers, and they didn't know, and I started doing some research. I couldn't find anything, so I did a little research project. And it took me about 3 months, but I found various solutions. I ended up getting inspired from the University of Edinburgh chemistry department, who had implemented a glove recycling program. And so I thought, well, we can use those in conservation. So I started looking into ways that we could mitigate glove waste. And there are solutions, but the problem I found was that it wasn't accessible for me as a student, as a conservator. It took me a really long time to find these things. So I then kind of started promoting this idea of, let's be greener in our practice. And I'm sure, not just gloves, but there are other things we can do. I mean, as conservators, we use a ton of toxic chemicals and we produce all of this waste with all of these foams that we're constantly using. And, we're obviously the ones who tell museums to keep their climate conditions at a certain range. So I thought it was important for us to start thinking about sustainability in our own practice. And I looked online to see if there was a resource center or something or someone that could help me, and I couldn't find anything. And so I decided to start something myself. So I started an organization called Sustainability in Conservation, shout out to SIC, in 2015. And the idea behind SIC was really just to create a resource center, a network, a place that people could ask questions, share best practices, talk about sustainability in their practice, because I was totally convinced that I was the only one who didn't know how to be sustainable. I thought, oh, I'm sure at University of Melbourne in Australia they have this staff packed. Like I'm convinced that they know all of the solutions. But if I can just connect with those people, then we can learn from each other and we can make this a global thing. And so I started a Facebook group, and it was really amazing how quickly it took off. I think it was within 4 months, I had like 300 followers, but the problem was no one was posting anything. So I was posting these tips and I was getting all these likes and I was getting questions, but nobody else was posting ideas or thoughts. And I would pose questions and not getting responses. And so I really saw that there was a demand for this, but there wasn't anyone there to help. And I started taking SIC to various conferences, and I was actually at the ICOM-CC conference, the triennial in Denmark in 2017. And being the gumptious person that I am, I saw President Sue Aksoy in the ladies' room and kind of cornered her. And while she was putting on lipstick, and I'm sorry, Sue, you were wonderful, thank you. And I asked her, I said, what is ICOM doing about sustainability? And Sue Aksoy was the president of ICOM at the time. And she said, I'm glad you asked that. I actually saw your presentation. We are putting together a working group and you need to be a part of it. And I was so excited. I thought, this is what I've been looking for. ICOM are, the international authority on museums. They're going to be able to lead the way and be sustainable, and it's wonderful, and I'm so excited. And so I was invited to be on the working group on sustainability for ICOM. I've been serving in the role of secretary for the working group for the past 2 years and will continue to serve in that role for the next 2 years. It has been an unbelievable honor, and I cannot tell you how much I've gained from that experience, and how much support there is at ICOM for sustainability. But I did see that there were a few bottlenecks kind of holding things up. And one of the big ones was that there was never enough time. The working group on sustainability, we were 14 renowned professionals from around the world. I mean, them more so than me at the time. But we were all volunteers, and we all had full-time jobs and other responsibilities and families and all kinds of things going on. So it was really not that easy to prioritize the work on the working group. And so sustainability just seemed to kind of always fall to the wayside. And I'm not singling out ICOM. This tended to be a trend that I saw in a lot of places. The other problem was that a lot of these organizations, so many groups have put together working groups on sustainability or green teams at institutions, and I would love to commend that because that is the most important first step. But the thing that seemed to be kind of a trend in our sector is that when we look at a problem, we look inwards. And we were looking to ourselves to solve these issues. So when you appoint the working group, you appoint a museum director and a professor and a conservator and a curator and a registrar. We don't know about sustainability. I mean, I'll tell you, I was not trained in sustainability during my master's or my doctorate. I don't know how many of you were. I'd love to hear if you are. By the way, please feel free to leave comments and thoughts and everything in the chat. So I wanted to, so this was an issue. Like we weren't experts. We didn't know what the solutions were. People would always say like, I don't know what is sustainability, much less how to be more sustainable. The other really incredibly valuable lesson that I learned from working at ICOM and working with ICOM was that sustainability means different things to different people. And, while I come from a Western, Northern context, sustainability to me was climate change. It was global warming. It was the environment. It was pollution. And then I started having more global colleagues, and I learned that sustainability means human justice. It means human rights. It means social cohesion and, humanity. And that is not separate from this. Climate and people, obviously, well, to me at the time it wasn't obvious, but now it is, go completely hand in hand. They're completely interconnected. And so it really amazed me that, we're kind of all picking our battles, but at the same time, it's the same battle. So the other big problem that I saw with getting sustainability initiated in our field was that there was um, there was very little communication. There were a lot of these really great initiatives kind of popping up in different places around the world, but people weren't working together. There was very little collaboration, there was very little sharing of best practices. And while there was a lot of talk about wanting to do that, we go back to problem number one, limited resources and time. No one had the chance to do it. And I just thought, I found myself making compromises in my own job as a conservator in order to be more sustainable. I mean, I was, washing and reusing saran wrap, and a lot of my colleagues were kind of frowning at me because maybe that would taint my results or something. But I couldn't continue in the way that it was going. I thought, someone needs to do something about this. And I didn't see anyone doing this. I thought we need a dedicated full-time organization working on sustainability in our sector, because if we don't have that, we're a small sector according to the rest of the world. As far as I'm concerned, we're incredibly important and integral, but there wasn't anyone who was going to come in and fix it for us, and we have unique needs. There's a lot of people say, well, you bring in a sustainability consultant and they'll just tell you, oh, we'll turn the HVAC system off. Well, we know that in a lot of cases we can't do that. So we needed some group of people to come together and find solutions that were applicable for us as cultural professionals and that were viable solutions for our sector. So I decided to put down my scalpel and start Key Culture. So that was a much longer story probably than we anticipated it to be. But I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea about why we decided to do this. So now I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the journey from Key Culture till inception until now. So Key Culture became an official nonprofit in January of 2020. We were registered in November of 2019. So we're just over, I guess, 12 months old. And it has been an incredible journey. November 2019, it was myself and Georgina sitting at a shared co-working space in Amsterdam trying to figure out how to set up a website. And today we have over 45 volunteers from all over the world who are just absolute rock stars and just forces to be reckoned with to really make this happen. And it's just been a dream come true watching this come to life. And it has been an interesting journey. Obviously, I think none of us were very sad to see 2020 leave, but with COVID and museum closures and all of the uncertainty in our sector, we've had to kind of ride that wave as well. But sustainability does not go away. And actually, it's more important than ever, because as we've seen, the global pandemic that we've been dealing with is a direct result of the unsustainable way that we live our lives. COVID is directly linked to loss of biodiversity. Sorry, I'm a little jet lagged, so you have to excuse my stuttering. But it's directly linked to a loss of biodiversity. It's directly linked to globalization. It's directly linked to overpopulation. So really some tangible issues that are at the heart of sustainability. And it's really been interesting to me because I've also learned a lot about the way that we view sustainability. And a lot of times in the cultural sector, we have this issue where we are very, I don't want to say short-sighted, but because in a lot of cases, we have very limited budgets and we always have the first budget cuts and we're always struggling to have financial sustainability, the other things fall to the wayside because we're just struggling to survive. So how can we, make investments for a, long-term future if we don't know how we're going to pay our employees next year? So this is something that has been a real big roadblock. So anyway, basically what we wanted to do at Key Culture was figure out how we can bring all these things together and solve these issues. So we took, and I want to leave a little bit of time, so I'm gonna go a little bit fast through this part. But basically, we decided that we wanted to create programming and support and provide what we needed for cultural professionals to become sustainable and for culture as a sector to become sustainable, not only in terms of financially, but also environmentally and socially. Because as talked about before, these things are all completely and totally interconnected. So it's my absolute pleasure to be able to announce to you guys that Key Futures, our Do It All program, is going to be launching this month. And Key Futures is really everything that I wanted when I was a conservator on how to be sustainable. And at the backbone of Key Futures are our key books. When I was a conservator and I wanted someone to just tell me what to do, I wanted someone to hand me a manual that I could open up and say, do this, do this, do this. Voila, done. What's next? That's what the key books are. They are your step-by-step guides on how to be sustainable in your daily practice. Now, what makes the key books unique is that they're co-created with sustainability experts and cultural professionals in order to tailor the needs of our jobs and our institutions to what can be done in order to be sustainable. And these, I cannot tell you how phenomenal the teams are and what incredible people we have working on these. I mean, it's been absolutely a pleasure to get to work with such amazing people as Victoria Burrows from the World Green Buildings Council. She's the director of Advancing Net Zero, or Stefania Pandozzi from the Vatican Museums, who has been an absolute amazing support for us. And it's really just so amazing to see how needed these are, because I don't know about you, but I can't get through a 150-page manual on HVAC systems. And this is literally my full-time job. So I don't expect you guys to want to read through that either. So what we've done is we've taken all of the information that's already available and translated it into something that is applicable for us as cultural professionals. And then we've cut it down and made it simple, straightforward, and easy to digest so that you don't have to be a sustainability engineer in order to understand how you can save energy. So our first key book, which I was just editing before we got on this live event, is going to be launching on Monday. And oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how cool it is. Wasted Materials, I would love to give a shout out to Kim and Justine and the entire team for doing such a phenomenal job on this. It is, every question we always get is, how can I recycle my gloves? Or is there an alternative to Tyvek? Well, download our Wasted Materials key book and find out. We will also be launching on the 18th our Social Sustainability key book, and finally on the 25th we'll be launching our Energy key book. And then on the 28th, I would love to invite you all to come join us for the official Key Futures launch, where we're going to talk about the program. So basically, the key books are going to be your free online guide that you can just download off of our website. And then Key Futures is going to be the support program that you need to make the actions possible. Because we all know that you can do things, but at some point you may have a question, may need some support. We've got key coaches there to help you. You might want to figure out a little bit about how to talk about climate change to your coworkers. We've got a guide for that. We want to be able to celebrate and all of the successes that you have. We're creating an accreditation and certification system. And then, of course, we're going to be doing trainings so that you guys can understand how you can be sustainable as well. Okay, I think I've talked everybody's ear off. I am being aware of the time, and actually, I would love to hear from you guys. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Also, of course, please check out our social media for all of the information about the event on the 28th. That will be a live event. We'll be hosting 2 different times to accommodate our global audience. So please keep an eye out for that. But I'd love to hear from you guys. So I'm seeing some really positive messages in the chat. So thank you guys so much for joining. Oh, it's Stefania's here. Hi, Stefania. Thanks so much for joining us. So if you guys have any questions or thoughts or comments, experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear about it. Thank you. The key books sound amazing. I hope so. I think, as I said, basically Key Futures was designed because based on the feedback that I got from my colleagues. So when I would go to different places around the world and do work, I would ask people what they would like in order to be more sustainable. And this is kind of a package of all of those things, all of the tools, all of the resources, the trainings, the support, everything all in one. We just have a question here. So what can we, the public, do to help? That is a great question. Well, as you guys know, we are a nonprofit organization, and it has been a very interesting journey trying to just make it through this year in terms of our finances. And I have asked for support through our fundraising campaigns, which has been absolutely wonderful. And I'm so incredibly thankful. You guys actually got us through last year. But I want to be able to pay all of our incredible volunteers. I mean, it's absolutely heartbreaking that some of my volunteers are people who maybe lost their jobs due to COVID, and so now they're just dedicating their time and energy to something that they believe in, but they deserve to be paid for it. I actually wanted to throw in a little tidbit here. I am on the advisory council, I guess you could call it, for Voices of Culture for the European Commission. And we're preparing a report on how sustainability and culture can better support each other. And my group is SDG 8, which is Economic Growth and Development. And so I'm going to be presenting a report to the European Commission on the 11th of February, talking about how the EC or the EU can better support us, primarily financially, and what the opportunities are for culture to help boost the economy as well. So this is a very important thing, and it's something that I feel very passionate about because, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we're always in culture struggling for budgets. We're always struggling for finances. And so it's really frustrating to not be able to pay people in our culture. And that also has, of course, really serious implications for social aspects because people, you know, we have a very serious lack of diversity in our sector. And the reason is that, you know, because of the job insecurity and low payment, a lot of people can't afford to work in our sector. And so only if you have, you know, some other source of financial income or support, then you can get a job working with us. But that's not fair. And we need to work on that. So I see another question in here. How many key books does Key Culture envision creating? That's a great question. We are going to just keep going. So this year we're releasing 3. In 2022, we have 4 that we have slated to be released. That will include water, Indigenous relations and traditional knowledge, education and outreach, and exhibitions. And I would just like to chime in here about these things because for me also it's incredibly important, especially when it comes to Indigenous relations and traditional knowledge. These are not authored by us. These are authored by people from Indigenous cultures or who have experience working with Indigenous cultures. And I just wanted to stipulate that because I think that's really important that we don't try to tell Indigenous cultures how we're going to relate with them, but that we open our ears and listen and start dialogues. So, you know, this is one of the ethos that we have at Key Culture is that we want to make sure that we are creating space for discussion and dialogue and listening as well as providing help and support. Katie wanted to know how we can access the key books. Those are freely available to download off our website. So if you go to keyculture.org, there is a key book section. Click on there and you can go ahead and sign up now for a reminder for when they're ready to be downloaded. But as I said, they'll be released each Monday this month. So definitely keep an eye out on our social media as well as visiting our website. And Leonardo asked, do I have an annual review recap available to the public? We will by the end of the month. So on our website, you will be able to download our activity report as well as our policy plan, which talks all about the things that we've done in 2019 and 2020, and then also talks about what we're going to be envisioning for 2021. So that will be available at the end of the month on our website as well. So thank you for asking. Yes, thank you, Nicole, for sharing the website. So let's see. Oh, goodness. Once again, if you know me, you know I can talk a lot. So I think I talk too much about me, but hopefully you guys are interested and you'll be able to stay tuned so we can talk a lot more about Key Culture. As I said, we're going to be doing all kinds of amazing events throughout the course of this month in preparation for the Key Futures launch in January 28th. And we really hope to see you there, where we'll talk a lot more about the program. And I just want to invite you all to reach out. One of the things that I've talked a lot with my marketing and social media team about, and I've talked a lot about with everyone who knows me, I would love to hear what you guys think. I want to know how we can help. I want to know what your issues are, what your concerns are. We're all about creating dialogue. So please reach out. I'm always happy to jump on a call and chat. I want to make sure that you feel that you're a part of Key Culture as much as we feel that we're there for you. So please join us in welcoming 2021 and making this the most incredible year yet. I have all of the optimism for this year, and I know that it's going to be amazing. And I would love to just give a huge shout out to my incredible team, who have just been working tirelessly to basically make my dreams come true. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you to everyone who's supported us throughout 2020. I know that we're going to make 2021 a blast, and I know that we're going to have a lot of impact here. And I'm so excited with all of the incredible support we've gained and all of the incredible things that we're going to be able to bring you and in this journey together to make this culture a sustainable profession. So I see I'm already over time, so I'll let you guys go. But I wanted to thank you so much for joining today. Once again, if you have any questions or need anything, please feel free to reach out. And thank you guys so much. And thank you, of course, to my amazing social media team for setting this up. I hope this was informative and that you enjoyed. And we'll just do plenty more of these so that we can get to know each other even better. So happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2021. The future is here.